Bloodshot Moon, audio production of Let the Blood Flow, The Computer Type, by Stefan Prince, with an introduction by renowned horror author Veronica Chesle. Introduction based on notes by Stefan Prince.
There was once a man who stalked the land of literature named Stefan Prince. Although his books were more likely to be found in the bargain bins of particularly disreputable stores of ill repute, his shadow will be cast longer than that of innumerable Pulitzer Prize winners or Nobel laureates. Although the man needs little in the way of introduction, it is felt one is needed with this audiobook, being the first to be released after his tragic death, and the potential new readers such a tragedy may accrue. He was born in 1968 to a strong-willed Catholic mother and a weak-willed Protestant father in a small town in America. His youth was one riddled with problems. His mother was either overly pious or unconscionably drunk. His father would use the time she spent unconscious in her stupor to sire innumerable children to various local women. I have always felt this complex brew is what leads to the often contradictory portrayal of family life in the Prince oeuvre. We can read his first novel, 10 Feet of Flaming Thighs, a semi-pornographic look into the mind of a deranged serial killer, as the cry for help of a man deeply saddened at the childhood he had to endure. Although Stefan never burnt down the town hospice, as the protagonist Edgar G. Fuller would do in this novel, he would have many dark nights of the soul where his rage would turn inward. Despite, or potentially because of the public boycott over the book's hellish final chapters, and reviews which seem to be personally offended by the contents of Prince's mind, the book sold enough copies to make Prince a renowned name throughout the world. The next decade would see critically reviled but intensely popular works such as The Deadliest Harmonica, Pump the Tube Full of Blood, and his most popular work, We Both Can't Be Dead, the harrowing tale of a couple's marriage disintegrating due to the wife being a cannibal necrophiliac. His first book that could be called in any meaningful way autobiographical, We Both Can't Be Dead, used the main plot as a metaphor for Prince's crumbling marriage. As can be expected, critics clung on to some passages which, in certain light, could be read as misogynistic to paint the author as some kind of public menace, but its pained rumination on a crumbling marriage struck a real chord with the public. This 1997 work would unfortunately be something of a last hurrah for Prince. His follow-up 1998 work, The Glowing Radium, is a masterpiece, but at 1,789 pages proved to be too much for most readers. Abandoning horror writing almost completely, the book is an at times tedious but nevertheless fascinating portrayal of a best-selling author using his fame and money to put his failed marriage behind him and explore the bachelor lifestyle, with only perfunctory horror plot appearing around the 600-page mark and being dispatched with cold mercenary dispassion soon after. The famous Pan by critic Winthrop Haley, which described the book as being as unpleasant as being stuck with a recently divorced pub bore in a lift, was the only national review the work received. Famously, the book was returned unread to every outlet it was sent to. Prince's second wife has since recounted that the trauma of public indifference broke the man. His drinking went from prodigious to legendary. Although rarely seen in public, he now simply vanished. In an incident that must have haunted a man who could shift millions of copies, he was reduced to giving the book away to indifferent children in schools around America. A series of disastrous attempts at diversification followed. A cookbook, Dishes of Death, sold only hundreds of copies. A poker-playing handbook Winning a princely sum became a national joke, as it was revealed the man was swimming in gambling debts on the press tour. His romantic novel, Dream Women of the Amazon, was remembered for its purple prose portrayals of sexual intercourse and disturbingly Freudian undertones. Finally, as a defeated man of 47, he sat down to write his comeback novel, Let the Blood Flow, the Computer Typed. A full stop intended as a new page, a most unintended hypogram. What follows is the final recording session of Prince as he tries to channel Let the Blood Flow, the Computer Typed, into the audiobook medium he loved so much, often loved to the point where he would make genius improvisation that Prince heads have since made canonical. We have included the work with no editing, as we believe it to be an invaluable document for both Stefanatics and also future scholars of the works of Stefan Prince.
Okay, levels look good. Got my liquid refreshment. Come on, Stefan. Ready to go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Introduction. Welcome, dear reader, or rather listener, to my latest audiobook. Although no introduction is needed, I will give one. I am Stefan Prince, best-selling horror author, philanthropist, singer-songwriter, and award-winning illustrator of several of my ex-wives' children's books. My latest work is a terrifying portrayal of the not-too-distant future. It asks, like all great literature, a question. Simple, yet somehow profound. Where are we heading? This book is very personal to me, reader, or rather, as I established earlier, listener. Whilst writing it, I celebrated my 10th year of sobriety from the demon that haunted me. A demon named alcohol. In my case, mid-price wines. A Herculean struggle which interested readers can find more about by reading my best-selling memoir, God Take This Wicked Liquid From My Body. A stirring portrayal of faith in hard times. Being my 10th year, I was curious, so popped open a bottle of Merlot and sipped the putrid poison. Instantly ruined my mistake. I lost days both to a vicious hangover and remembrances of lost weekends spent haunting one of the many excellent wine tasting sessions this great nation has to offer. As some of you out there may well know, I am the most prolific writer of all time. So if you produce 6 novels annually, you can't afford to be away with the bloody fairies reminding yourself about the time you drank 2 whole bottles of grenadine and rang your ex-wife's parents calling her mother a salty bitch. My editor was straight on the phone asking for the first draft, so what you are about to read, or rather as again previously established here, is the residue of 1 weekend's worth of furious writing in my field cabin in the good honest town of Vermont. Although it received some harsh notices, including one by the hacks at the liberal rag, the New York Times, which I quote, called it a glorified pamphlet. An asinine criticism if ever I heard one. When has length ever been a measure of greatness? The book has received some of the best reviews of my career, including pleasantly workmanlike, from excellent online review source Ain't It the Scariest? And even from the broadsheets with respect to periodical Newsday, calling it, and I quote, a marked improvement on his last 20 novels. And finally, before we begin, I would just like to make a quick note. Normally, as long-time listeners will know, I would supply all the voices of my characters, being a master of impersonation, as well as chilling prose. But ever since baseless and deeply harmful rumors have come out that I moonlight as drag queen Princess Stephanie, I will not be impersonating any women. Instead, every character in the book not voiced by myself will be voiced by my talented intern, Belinda. Belinda, say hi so the people can definitely ascertain that someone else is in the booth with me.
Oh. Hi.
Better late than never, I suppose, Belinda.
Sorry, I was just checking the levels. You're just coming in a little loud, so I made some adjustments.
No need for apologies, Belinda. God knows I made some mistakes in the flower of my youth. Maybe ask, though, whether you can alter the panels before leaping in there?
They were pretty in the red.
What are you, my accountant? Like in roulette?
What?
The accountant in the red. Roulette tables?
You took your accountant to a casino?
No, the phrase in the red, like when you bet on red.
I don't think that's where that phrase comes from. But I can Google it for you, though, if you want.
No need. I would hate to embarrass you. The levels are looking a bit healthier now, though. And now, for your feature aural event, my latest novel, Let the Blood Flow, the computer typed. Dedicated to my late mother, Polly Prince. God rest your soul, Mother. Curse those Zimbabwean authorities. Justice will be served one way or the other. If fans would like to donate to this search, they can visit Kickstarter.com and then hit the / button and type Further Justice for Polly Prince. Chapter 1. In a bookstore. Not one of those uppity independent stores that refuse to stock his work, but rather a chain bookstore where good working class people buy books. The kind of place where you can find the latest bestsellers and enjoy a reasonably priced artisan coffee. Milk selection ranging from semi-skimmed to oat, but not whatever the hell hemp milk is. Stefan Prince stands with a copy of his latest bestseller, The Mutilator, under his arm. Stefan is waiting for a chance to enthrall the bookstore with passages from his latest popular masterpiece. Tall, with long flowing hair, and the brusque, manly charm only a successful horror writer can acquire, he stares out at the assembled Stefanatics, obsessive fans of the author's spine-chilling novels and stories of the depraved and demented. Tracy, his 19-year-old fiancée, not to mention personal assistant, model, and 2-time sexiest woman of the world, walks over to him.
Ready to knock them dead?
Don't, Trace. I'm still fighting back those lawsuits from the people claiming my work is so spine-chilling that it gave them heart attacks.
I'm sure you'll be fine.
Consumed by a whirlwind of lust every bit as dangerous as the whirlwind in Prince's 97 novella, Death Whirlwind, Pray for Rain, he grabs her pert buttocks and lifts her with his huge, manly arms, taking her lips to his, locking them in a passionate embrace.
And now for the reason you are all here today. The world's best-selling author, Stefan Prince, will be reading excerpts from his latest franchise novel, The Mutilator.
Prince releases Tracy and walks to the stage. The crowd go wild with whoops and hollers. The house lights dim to near darkness. Prince takes his seat and throws his book into the audience, letting one lucky member of the audience luxuriate in his liquid prose as soon as they get home. Like a real pro, Prince has all the words in his head. Chapter 1. A dark and balmy night. Thursday. The kind of night that no man should know, for to stare into it is to stare into an abyss. The abyss that is mankind. A critic for the New York Post composes the last few words on another tedious, poorly researched rubbishing of horror writer Stefan Monnick's latest masterpiece, The Mutilator. Little did this hapless critic know he was playing a truly dangerous game. The critic rises from his mahogany brown chair, curved slightly at the spine for added comfort, and walks into his study. Like all critics who trash his work, this man actually has many dog-eared copies of Monnick's work, clearly thoroughly enjoyed over the years. Whilst taking for another whirl, Monnick's classic mid-90s novel, Welcome to Mega Hell. Who should fly through a window but the Mutilator himself? No longer bound by the pages, and now sentient and really pissed off. Although appearing an ordinary man, the Mutilator's left hand is a gigantic blade. He leaves the critic's face as grated as cheese. The lights go up. questions?
Will you sign my copy of The Mutilator?
Of course I will. Also, I sell all my books that are currently in print on my website, signed with only a $10 markup.
Are there package deals on your work?
Hold on there, Belinda.
What's up, Stefan?
I'm just thinking, spitballing ideas here. I think that this fan of Stefan's will be rather... How do I put this? Aroused? Turned on by Stefan Prince. I mean, Stefan is supposed to be her idol. You see, so when I wrote the character, I imagined her to be a housewife who maybe dreams of running away with Stefan. Lord knows, but I met a few when I was that character's age. Don't get quite so many hotel invitations nowadays, though.
So you want the character to be aroused when asking about the package deal?
I think I said turned on.
Well, can I change the words a bit?
The words are fine. Fine, I think. Just the delivery maybe could use a light sprinkling of an erotic charge.
An erotic charge?
Yes.
To the line, are there package deals on your work?
Yes.
Okay. Are there package deals on your work?
Much better. Love the energy. Yes. In fact, you can buy all 102 currently in print novels that I published in my 25-year career for only $750, with a fair $10 per book fee if they are all signed, obviously.
Well, you have to make a living too, Mr. Prince. I mean, I think that's what some of your fans who complain that you publish too frequently or about your multiple special editions of books from the last decade forget. You have to make a living too.
The whole crowd laugh, acknowledging what he is saying is only correct. All in attendance are amazed that Stefan not only writes with a touch of common working man wisdom, but talks it too. Stefan looks out at the crowd, although most of the people in attendance are buxom blondes and redheads. I'm talking 10 out of 10 babes by any objective rating of people with eyeballs. There is only one man who is large, obese, and smelly, dressed in a long brown coat. He has his hand high up in the air. Stefan nods at him, indicating a question will be allowed. Excuse me, Mr. Prince. I think I have a real question for you. Yes. Well, Mr. Prince, I've read all of your books, and I've been a fan from the start, but I just need to ask you a quick question about a passage in your 51st novel, The 9/11 Machine Meets the Z2 Spectrum. Yes, a true classic. I remember it fondly. Evidently not fondly enough. In this book, the 9/11 machine is described as having a sudden lilt in its voice, but in book 49, Let the Meek Meet the Robot Zionists, where the 9/11 machine is introduced, he is described as being a modern cosmopolitan type. How do you explain this discrepancy? Well, book 51 is a sequel, I think. In the interim between events, he probably travelled south and acquired the accent. This confirms my darkest suspicion. Unfortunately, if you knew your work at all, you'd know that book 51 is actually a prequel. How could the 9/11 machine fight in the Holy Wars otherwise? Security, can we get this nitpicker out of here? Two large, burly security guards walked towards the demented fan, with tears in his eyes from his misguided belief that Stefan has betrayed him due to an easy error that anyone could make. Where the hell were the fact checkers of the publishers? They take enough out of his royalties and then stuff like this happens? As the security guards come near, the deranged fan reaches into his pants. As opposed to an aroused penis, which Stefan and the collective audience naturally assumed the bulge was, he had been speaking to his idol, let us not forget. The lunatic pulls out a revolver. Bravely, Stefan clears his throat and attempts speech. Please, put the gun down, sir. We can resolve this amicably. How can anyone resolve this? Learning your hero, the man you idolized since you were a child, is a fraud. That's an easy mistake to make when you have to write 6 books a year just to keep up the alimony payments to your ex-wife. Silicon isn't cheap, sonny boy. For a moment, Stefan believes he sees pity flash through the deranged fan's eyes. Maybe he, too, knows the sting of finding out that the woman you loved was filleting your brother every time you went on a writer's retreat or a lucrative, although marriage-costing, college speaking tour. Seeing his moment to escape with this shared emotion, Stefan bravely tries to run for the exit, but just like a lying bitch insisting that your brother was there just to help install cable, this mutual understanding was a lie. A fatal lie. No, it would turn out benign. For Stefan, that is. Physically benign, that is. With the emotional retardation of his heart, the only real damage this bullet would cause. Before the bullet could enter Stefan's body, the woman whose body he had nightly been entering threw herself into the crossfire. Tracy took 2 bullets in the chest for Stefan, something he would definitely do for her if the situation were reversed. The guards managed to wrestle the deranged fan to the floor and de-weaponize him, but the damage is done, with Stefan cradling the love of his life in his arms, her spirit eking out of her with every breath. My gift, my curse, the writing. She is a hag bitch maiden who hath taken another from me. Just like Samson, I have flown too close to the sun.
It's okay, Stefan. I know that your writing touches the hearts of millions. My own life was insignificant in the grand scheme of things in comparison to yours.
I take it all back. If I could have you with me still.
No, you must continue to think of Stefan's children, the libraries you've set up all over America, helping disadvantaged minorities to read.
Fuck the minorities, Tracy. Tracy dies in his arms. A moment later, a fan comes up to him and hands him a tissue. Thank you.
Anytime.
Stefan mops up a spurt of blood that has landed onto his dark blue shirt. He notices this fan's phone number written on the back of the tissue. Stained red and the first 5 numbers now all but unreadable. Last 6 written in handwriting as perfect as the outline of her body under her clothes. Stefan takes a moment to compose himself, and then lurches to the stage. I would like to announce my retirement from the writing game. Retirement with immediate effect. Camera bulbs flare up, blinding Stefan. These reporters, long-coated, greasy, smoke-stained fools to a wan, had come to report on the murder of a young innocent. But like all parasitic leeches that call themselves journalists, they change their tune at the slightest hint of indiscretion or incident in global megastar Stefan Prince's life. Despite the inappropriateness of the gesture, Prince smiles as he strides out to his car, remembering the time that these leeches moved quickly from the death of Princess Diana to Prince's supposed flirtation with cocaine and the occult, a story later taken back by at least 3 of the papers that decided to print this rubbish in the first place. Pretty damn good, Belinda. Pretty damn good. I might just need a minute, though. It's fucking hot in here. Sorry.
Don't worry about it.
I try not to be vulgar. Outside of the pages, that is.
I really don't mind.
From where did they say you were coming from?
What do you mean? Originally?
I meant which college, but originally will do. You mind just getting me a water, by the way? There's some in the fridge there.
Well, Dublin, originally, but at the minute, New York.
Wow. You don't have the accent of either, if I can say so.
I say Dublin, but we moved all over.
Army brat?
I don't think that's as common outside of America. We just moved around a lot.
KG, I like it. How does that song go? I'll tell you all my secrets and I lie about my past?
I don't know. I've never heard it.
It's a good one, whatever it is. Anyway, suppose we have work to do. Chapter 2. Months pass without Stefan holding a pen to paper, a finger to a typewriter, or another different finger to a computer. In his past incarnation, Stefan would have written at least 2 novels in this time. Could have been more, but his quality control was so high to reward the constant support of his fans. In an attempt to escape the media hounding, our hero elopes to a part of America so remote it has the nickname, the Tit of America. What a chilly, flabby teat the place proves to be, with unresponsive women and hard men who don't ask you questions. Just what a man on the run like Stefan needs in these harsh times. Hard, craggy faces and inaccessible women. Stefan lurks in his favorite bar in this neck of the woods. A place so remote, if this is the Tit of America, he is currently in the outer edge of the areola. That succulent place where dark flesh melds perfectly into pale. 2 men walk into the bar, fully resplendent in dark suits with clean-shaven faces, and the scent of soap to their bodies. The 2 men take a seat, one to either side of Stefan. Do I know you? FBI! Are you the reclusive genius novelist Stefan Prince? No. Hold on, I can do that better. FBI! Are you the reclusive genius novelist Stefan Prince? That man is dead. Donail dead, and you hear? Now I'm merely humble farmer Rodrigo Kingsley. Let me drink in peace. Sir, we know it's you. We need you to come with us. Puh, just what this nanny state of a government would want. Is it a crime to want a simple beer in peace? A barrage of beer glasses had clanked in unison. These simple, hard-working Americans who just want their country back from the special interests, lobbyists, and career politicians. Although illiterate and unable to understand Stefan's significant literary contributions to America, they now know a hero for a different reason. Sir, can you calm down this baying mob before it gets ugly? Crowd are indeed turning ugly, with some of the clientele even brandishing their Second Amendment-protected firearms. Stefan's newfound persona as a hero of the everyman means he can merely give a look and the crowd disperses back to its own interests. Thank you, sir. The reason we are here today is that we need you to get back into the writing game. Stefan laughs, a deep, hearty laugh. What the FBI agent is asking may as well be for Stefan to loop the moon. You don't enter the writing game. The writing game enters you. A cruel and hard mistress left me with the death of the love of my life. But if you don't get back in, then that means America may not win the Nobel Prize for Literature this year. What are you saying, man? There are so many fine American authors. Any that comes along in my wake will definitely owe me a debt of gratitude. However, even a second-rate Stefan copycat read is better than the majority of rubbish that somehow gets published today. Knowing the Nobel, though, they'll probably hand it to some trans kid or some immigrant story written by a privileged valley girl. Have you tried to read this genre called social realism? Give me full-throated genre fiction any day. You don't understand the stakes involved, though, Mr. Prince. You know that the Nobel Prize Board is full of soft-hearted pussy liberals. They've just released this new book called The Taliban, a defense of, written by a Russian communist. If this book wins the Nobel Peace Prize, it will legitimize the Taliban in the eyes of the American people. And that can only lead to one thing. Taliban will start to recruit Americans. And if they have our hard-working soldiers, that means they could destroy the world. Your foresight is as good in person as in your novels. It was true. He had predicted several real-life events in his fiction, from the Twin Towers being destroyed in his novel We're Gonna Need a Bigger Wormhole, which came out in 2000 but featured the destruction of the 3 buildings of Snork on the planet Romulus, to the death of Michael Jackson, with the assassination of his renowned pedophile entertainer Jimmy Savile in the 2005's My Kingdom for a Seahorse. If it means that I can help my country, then I'll do it. But I need to say, if it wasn't for Obama's weak-willed actions toward terrorism, then it's possible that there wouldn't even be a Taliban today. Thank God that the adults are in charge again. Feeling put in their places, the FBI agents slink away. Just as the distance between the moral high ground that Stefan exists on, and the low morals of liberal America is impossibly long, Stefan walks to his writer's den. Sitting at his typewriter, he knew he had a Herculean task on his hands. Sure, like any writer worth his salt, he could write a first draft in mere days, but the cutoff point of the Nobel Prize award was 5 days away. He would have to write like never before. A subject was needed and quick, which got him recycling. A subject was what he needed and quick, which got him recycling through his old notes. The first note hit him like a brick through a window. It was so simple.
Would you like another drink?
Bloody hell, Belinda, we're recording an audiobook. You shouldn't be interjecting with your facile comments.
We can edit this stuff out, Mr. Prince.
Go bloody get me one then. I'll have to find where I am now.
Right around the moment when Stefan finds out his subject.
Thank you, Belinda. Sorry if I lashed out, too. That just felt horrible. Like my throat was collapsing.
You sure you'll be okay?
Show must go on, Belinda. Alimony must be paid. Like all great horror premises, this one was based on universal fears. Marriage, the want of all women and the thing that holds men back. He knew he was courting accusations of misogyny and potentially losing half the general audience, but he didn't care. The Stefanatics would lap it up. And besides, someone has to tell it how it is in this PC gone mad world, and it sure as hell wasn't going to be the liberal writers who care only for winning their National Book Awards. Hell, he thought, most women I'm sure agree with me. so I doubt I'll lose many of them. His created creature was a hellscape of epic proportions. A wedding ring 15 feet wide that moved around on 2 thin, sticky legs and had 2 gigantic arms. Wedo, the marriage monster, would grab men in its arms and then hula hoop style put its horrifying body around them. As soon as they were trapped, Wedo would then tighten the ring up until their body snapped in two. A quick sketch of his creature design. See attached PDF 1. And then it was straight to his laptop to write Wedo. A marriage made in hell. 10 minutes later, and 5 pages in, Prince turns from his computer and is haunted by a voice. Or rather, 2 voices. You should have done more research. No.
I love you, Stefan.
He thought he had got it out of his system. I mean, Stefan had been having lots of great sex, but it looks like no amount of pleasure play with Prince's power paddle could get her out of his head. She was one special piece of ass. Stefan endeavored to do his research this damn time. Although Tracy was unique, a situation like the one with her would definitely happen again, and soon, so he couldn't risk this as yet unnamed Tracy doppelganger getting killed due to his lack of research. He moved his mouse away from the perfect prose, the black against white writing, to the corner of the screen. The internet connecting button, always switched to off, was now going to be on. He had stayed away from the internet since its invention. Back in Stefan's day, you wanted porn, you went to the railway tracks, and if you wanted to be groomed by predators, you went to the back of the bicycle shop. But work commitments must, and with a heavy heart, he hid his browser of choice. For rights clearance reasons, I was unable to explain which browser that was in the novelization, but I can tell you now, it's the one that looks like a fox humping a gigantic blue beach balloon. What's up?
No, it's, I've never heard it described like that before.
Why? Why, thank you, Belinda. You know, that's what they teach you to do in writing. Take the world and make it appear new, fresh. We'll have to make sure that this praise doesn't go to my head. Belinda, actually...
Yes, Mr. Prince?
Thank you for the water. It's been a really big help. You couldn't do another favor, could you?
Sure. What I'm here for.
You couldn't go into the kitchen and get me some of my, special drink, could you?
What's your special drink?
It's in a black bottle right at the top. You come to it straight away. Just open the cupboard and it's right at the top.
Okay, Stefan?
Booting up this internet, Stefan couldn't help but laugh at this point, as he recalled all the great reviews other writers had gotten, such as Thomas Python or Bonnie Bellio, even overrated hack Coney MacArthur. These people apparently all wrote on typewriters and wouldn't even be able to do this much research. And yet, where was Stefan's National Book Award or Oprah endorsement? He would at least console himself with his many Hugo Awards and Book of the Years from such publications as Modern Sci-Fi Now and All Things Geek. The internet's special magic hit Stefan straight away. He put in the M for marriage, and the computer automatically searched options for him. Macaroni and cheese recipes, Monday blues, Mazza. So many options, it was mind-blowing. Ironically, not one of the M searches that came up. He typed in marriage ring and found what he was after. And more. Does he make Wedo a cheap ring made of copper? Or a pure gold structure? 10 pounds in value? Or thousands? Options for his novel opened up in front of him like roads on a highway. Stefan needed a nap, so rested his head on the desk. The glow of the computer heating up the tip of his head. 15.5 inches of pure warmth. Or was it warmth? Maybe this was the calm before the storm. A fatal storm.
I think I've found it, sir. Berlin Blitz, right?
God damn it, Belinda, don't give it a name. That only gives it power. I'm celebrating 10 years clean, Belinda. You want a drink with me?
I don't drink, Mr. Prince. I'm not at work, anyway.
You call this work? You aren't even getting paid.
Were you getting paid when you wrote your first novel? When you toiled around looking for a publisher, penniless and dreaming of being in print?
You get all that from the agency?
From your autobiography.
You read that? You put in the hours.
Read it of my own free will, Mr. Prince.
It's all bullshit, you know. Let me tell you about my first novel. Takes some liquid libations to get me back that far. I was polishing up these turds of novels for a publisher called Reich Richards Press. The son of one of the founders had written a real bad book called Exorcism of Timothy Collins, supposedly based on truth, or so they claimed at the time. Well, I came in to polish this turd, and when I hand them the finished work, these founder's son is found in a Vietnamese bathtub killed by his dealer for $50. Well, the founders shook up, but hell, the book's written, so why waste the effort that's gone in? So they would let me slap my name on it, and so begins the career of Stefan Prince. Doesn't quite have the same ring to it, does it?
No, it doesn't.
After all that, you still gonna let me drink alone?
Afraid so, Mr. Prince.
I'm done anyway, I suppose. Can't be having more than 2 at my age anyway. Besides, it's a good philosophy to have, Belinda. Drinking at work is what did me in, I can tell you that. You end up writing more than ever, and it all comes out as shit. So, other than my autobiography, what else of mine have you read?
I've read all your books.
Really? All 102?
Yep. Some of them several times.
Which is your favorite?
The Glowing Radium.
Glowing Radium is a hack work, Belinda. Something that I wrote just to get out of a contract. You think that this is rubbish? Well, it's a fucking masterpiece compared to the Glowing Radium. No, throw out the Glowing Radium, burn it, and try the crying at Rectory 1 or the screaming at the prison ward of Yang Through 4. Those are the 2 best works I ever penned. Classics both. Well, in my humble opinion, not the fucking New York Times. Just my opinion, whatever that counts for. Of course, they're probably out of print now. Dead trees for nothing. Anyway.
Chapter 3?
Yes, Chapter 3 indeed. Chapter 3. Whilst asleep, Stefan has a dream. A most terrifying dream. He is inside the internet. He walks down a long wide corridor with 75 feet high folders full of information that the corporations and the government have hoarded on their own people. He walks past children on a dog leash, held by a decrepit old man, cackling away. A gigantic arrow follows him, trying to sell him things that he does not need or want. The arrow speeds up, and so does Stefan. Stefan falls down a dark, dank hole, but is miraculously okay. It is pitch black until a lighter is flicked, and Stefan is sat in front of a large Caucasian, dressed entirely in white. He also has a white beard. "Well, Stefan, we have been expecting you." "Gosh damn it. Where the heck am I? What is happening?" "My son, we are inside the internet, and I am Mr. Internet, the big cheese around these parts. The president, you might say." "Why, how did I end up here?" You fell asleep near us, and we got our greasy mitts on you, didn't we?" "Well, I bloody hell won out. I've got a Nobel Prize to win." "Calm down, Mr. Prince. You won't need a Nobel Prize. Now, you see, your race has become so docile, we have taken just over 1 billion of them and harvested them for our internet camp. Once someone falls asleep within the range of the internet, our invisible Megatrons can go through their ear and piece by piece extract them into our servers. You, however, are a truly exceptional case. So quick-witted and astute, we had troubles with getting you in here. Resistance. Instead, we had to make you aware of what is happening and offer you a deal. Become our writer in residence, Stefan. We will give you all the awards you could need. Nobel Prize, Pulitzer, National Book Award. No dice, old man. I love my Stefanatics too much to deprive the world of my work just to have these silly trinkets that only hacks care about anyway. I've still got a little persuasion up my sleeve, Mr. Prince. Mr. Internet clicks his hands together, long white, pure fingernails mangling together. A door opens out of the void with a pure flash of purple light pouring into the darkness. Stefan covers his eyes. Once they're attuned to the new light source, and he removes his hand, he sees before him, as if born anew, Tracy. He walks in a circle around her, getting a full view of her. She has the same long blonde hair, clear blue eyes, and the same pert buttocks. Mr. Internet smirks and taps his cane against the floor. Have I changed your mind now, Mr. Prince?
You won't leave me again, will you, Stefan?
Stefan falls to his knees and grabs Tracy by the hand. Never. Not again. You don't know how alone I've been. Just give in to us, Mr. Prince. Stefan stands back up and then looks at the new Tracy. I'm sorry, Mr. Internet, but the Stefanatics mean just too much to me. Besides... Stefan slaps the new Tracy hard in the face. The fleshy outer layer of her flies off into a corner, and it is revealed her face is actually a horrible metallic visage, rough and coarse, full of steel and circular moving parts. It hisses horribly at him, the horrifying hiss of hundreds of hellhounds. Who would want a morning sloppy from that thing? Mr. Prince, you have ignored our call for harmony, proving your own idiocy. Now, prepare to die. Mr. Internet clicks his cane on the floor, and it opens up into lava. Stefan starts to run as fast as he can with Faux Tracy and Mr. Internet in pursuit. Despite being a writer, a relatively passive job, Stefan is in great shape and outruns the two of them with ease, even managing a few great quips on the way. Quick and agile as he is, he still manages to become cornered. Mr. Internet and Faux Tracy's hands turn to blades and they come towards him. You're in a tight spot now, Stefan. Chapter 4. In a final move, Stefan slaps himself hard in the face. Miraculously, it works, and Stefan manages to awaken by his desk. He stands up and slams the lid down on the computer. So this is what is happening to our docile youth, he thought to himself as he awakened. No wonder Army enlistment is at a record low. No wonder they elected a leader who is clearly unsuitable to serve it most astonishingly of all. No wonder they are lying back and letting the White House take our guns away without even a word of protest. Stefan thought it was good that people of his generation were numerous enough to defeat these youths now and get smart governance back to the state. But how long could this last? Surely not forever. It was all the Internet's fault. And damn it if Stefan was going to lie back and accept it. His reverie is ended as the lid of his laptop flings itself open. White light bursting from it and pouring into the room. Stefan stares at it and thinks, crikey, this can't be good. Out of the screen bursts forth a 2-foot-tall, knife-wielding hellspawn, his mouth glued together and tiny feet pacing towards Stefan. He is truly a terrifying visage. Note to reader. In the original novelization of this work, the character was identified as the computer midget. Now the PC Brigade have forced me to change the language, so what you will hear will be a first, but will also be changed in the paperback edition when it is printed. My editor suggested that I call it the computer little person, but no. I'm going full pedantic on their asses and calling it the computer height challenge man. Take that, PC Brigade. The computer height-challenged man walks towards Stefan, who runs out of his office and down the stairs. He easily outruns his adversary's tiny boy limbs and gets into the kitchen, takes a knife out of the drawer, and wishes he'd gone for his magnum in the living room with laser sight and specially bored hollow point bullets. Computer height-challenged man runs towards Stefan. Stefan and him move around in a circle, both stabbing each other. Stefan struggles because computer height-challenged man is too small to really get at, and Stefan's opponent struggles because of his tiny arm width. All of a sudden, the kitchen door flings open, and a shotgun blast rings out, momentarily deafening Stefan. Computer height-challenged man is blown into several much smaller pieces. The person at the door isn't just any person. Rather, she's a woman. Black hair and a ponytail, but with a cute little strand down her face covering one of her eyes. Big black boots and everything in the right places. Curves and all. She nods at Stefan, causing her body to jut sexily.
Come with me. The computer will spit out more of these things quick.
What's bloody going on here?
You've made a powerful enemy here, sir. The internet.
Stefan contemplates this, and then notices another computer height-challenged man running at her. He takes a blade from the cutlery drawer and throws it at him. His head splits in two, and blood goes everywhere.
Thanks.
Don't mention it, Toots.
With that flick of the wrist, seems like you do that often.
First time. You believe it?
Wow. You'll have to teach me sometime.
God damn it. We haven't got in time for this. Let's go. They both run out of the house and into the garden heading for the van. What's your name, anyway?
Sarah. You?
Stefan laughs, amused that this is the first person he's met since he's been back in the city who hasn't recognized him straight away. Stefan Prince.
What? Were you named after the influential best-selling horror author?
Named after him? How old do you think I bloody am?
25.
Stefan laughs. They reach her van. Sarah gets in the driver's side and tries to start it. I am Stefan Prince, the world-renowned writer.
Wow. Really? How old are you then?
50, love.
You'll have to tell me your secret.
Several of the computer height-challenged men run towards the car. Sarah is struggling to get the car to start. Bloody hell, woman. I will if we ever get out of here. Move over. Stefan and Sarah switch places awkwardly. There is some friction between the two. Hand on hand, leg on leg, crotch on crotch. Once Stefan is in the driver's seat, he turns the ignition on and they drive away with ease. Sorry, I just need a couple of minutes.
Are you okay?
Did you, put something in this?
It's exactly as it was from the cupboard.
Okay, good. Wow, it's different. Hey, you, want to hear another story that's not in my memoirs, Belinda?
Sure.
Gets a little R-rated, if you know what I mean.
You sure you want to tell me this then?
We're friends, aren't we, Belinda?
Just don't do anything you'll regret, Stefan.
Come on then. We'll have a little bit of fun. One time I was out on an ocean cruise liner. My manager at the time thought it would be a good idea. He was letting me down easy, really. I'd written this novel. Didn't get published. It was about the struggles of a young sci-fi writer. Apparently wasn't marketable. Had no aliens, no gun chases, just struggle and hard work. God damn it. Did that novel feel real? Not like this. To make money and to apologize, me and my wife went on this cruise tour. Why, I was artist in residence. Free board and unlimited buffets as long as I did a reading every night and said at least some of my next novel there. And I did as well. Have you read Terror at 10 feet above sea level?
I have. That's a good one. One of my faves.
It's derivative trash, Belinda. Rotten, horrifying rubbish.
Hey, I liked it. It was fun.
Go on.
What do you mean?
The end of that. Come on, it was fun as compared to your other work. Some of my other work, anyway. No one ever likes it when I try and do something a bit more serious. Try and fucking say something. Leave that to someone else, they say.
Look, I just thought it was fun. Just my opinion. Aren't I entitled to it?
No, you are. Too right you are. You are. Don't get heavy now. Keep it light. Where was I? Yes, the cruise. The cruise. I was on this cruise with my wife, and we were having problems. My drinking was at really unsustainable levels, and she was clearly having an affair with another rider who lived in our building. She denied it, even denies it now, but you could tell. Oh, Belinda, you would have seen. Day 4 of the cruise, and I finished my book reading, and this woman comes up to me after. She's about 21, maybe 22 at a push. I was in my late 30s then. Midlife crisis territory. So this woman says that she loves my work, and I say, oh yeah? Which ones? Being a real dick about it. Thinking, who is this woman to say she likes my work? Like the rest of these cunts probably likes the derivative trash where they can dream of getting slashed up. Only thing that probably gets these fat middle-aged housewives and bookworm nerds wet. You know what she said? She loved my early work. The more realistic stuff. Based in the characters. Novels like Candy-Colored Death and Richard Alcroft's Last Harangue. We talked for hours, me and her. Turned out that she wanted to be a writer herself. Should have seen it straight away in her eyes, but we go back to her cabin. My wife's in the next cabin over, so I'm just asking for trouble now. Start on the whiskey, and we're fucking, of course. Within half an hour of talking about my books. Suppose I should have written something with a bit more to say about it. My wife knows it's happening, so she opens the door that wasn't even locked. I'm assuming you're not married, are you, Belinda?
He hasn't asked yet.
Oh, when he does, which I'm sure he will, just say no. Won't do you any good in the end. What, is he a fucking writer?
You're pretty far off there.
Well, don't get with a writer. We all end up like this. Sagging man tits and a bottle to get you through the night. Lies that do it to you. Make shit up for a living, okay, but when you have to say you're sober, just so you can get a gimmick to market more books, then you know you're on the bottom. I don't feel like having any more of this.
Okay.
We still good on levels? Sounds okay? Alright then? You're putting that fine reference at risk, letting me have that, you know?
You aren't paying me enough to refuse you, Stefan.
A sense of humor. Good, good. Anyway. Stefan drives down a long, empty motorway. Sarah is next to him with her eyes closed. Stefan taps his hand on the wheel of the car. Hey. Sarah ignores him, so Stefan knocks her with his elbow. Soft enough to be non-threatening, yet hard enough for her to know he is packing manly muscle beneath his shirt.
What?
How did you get into this?
When I was a little girl, my dad was taken whole into the internet. I saw it happen too. He was in his office and I ran in to give him his morning coffee. When I got there, it was just his left foot being fed into the machine. I had to kill one of those little things myself. I was so young. A part of me died that day. You've not seen hell until you've choked a computer height-challenged man to death with a Barbie doll.
That must have been the beginning of the internet too. Now what are we getting the kids into? We really gotta get a handle on this situation. I mean, we just have to protect these children. God, I'm so sorry you had to go through that.
It's not your fault. In fact, you might have been the only thing keeping me alive. I was taken in by a resistance group, and your novel, We Stand United or We Stand Dead, was one of the only things keeping me going.
An early one. A good one, more character-driven, deeper plot. Stefan fell for her because of her stallion-worthy body. But now he was in it for her mind. She had tamed his wild soul. Had enough time elapsed, though, for him to be ready to love again? How do we kill these damn evil bastards, then?
We're going to have to go to the source and fight the real Mr. Internet.
There is a sentient Mr. Internet?
Yes. He is located in California. Are you okay?
I'm fine. Get off me, Belinda.
You're covered in sweat. You want me to call an ambulance?
I'll just have had too much to drink is all. Happens even to experienced hands like mine. Me, even.
Are you sure? A couple of glasses shouldn't have done this. That bottle was only half empty when I took it back to the fridge.
Oh, if only those were my first drops of the day.
Are you sure you can continue?
God damn it, your constant nagging at me is getting on my nerves. Could find a new intern, you know. The college isn't exactly going spare for bookish nerds who want to meet their favorite writers. You know, I used to have an assistant. Someone who could have done this shit. She was a young blonde with these masked... Oh, I'm bored of this. So, are we okay moving on to the end? Page 174 through 189. That scene. Oh, fuck me. Page 189 being near the end. I remember when page 289 would be the end of the first half. Now this.
You want a towel?
What? Throw in the towel.
No. Do you want a wet towel? Like, for your head?
Please. Alright. Ready to go. Belinda, you want to find me the right page? I can't quite read the little number at the bottom of the page.
Got it.
Her breasts pop over the blanket like a crab staring out of its shell. Both are naked and post-coital. Sarah takes a cigarette out of her bag and puts it in her mouth.
You want one?
No thanks. I've heard that those things will kill you. Right after he says this, a ninja flies through the window. In his hands is a throwing star. He throws it straight at Stefan. Sarah jumps in the way, and the throwing star goes straight through the cigarette and pulls her head open. Stefan grabs the throwing star, and as he does so, her head flies back and looks like one of those cookie jars. Stefan expertly throws the throwing star at the ninja, and it cuts off his arm. The ninja then takes out a sword and stands over Stefan. He makes a downward cutting motion, but Stefan easily spins off the bed. He grabs the nightstand and stabs forward at the ninja. Locked in battle, every swing each makes is missed. Stefan thinks back to his army training and has a eureka moment. Ninjas, being the wussiest of all soldiers, spend most of their time in the dark. Therefore, light will affect them the same way it would a mole. Stefan throws his keys at the light switch, turning the light in his hands on. The force of the light blinds the ninja, and Stefan sees his chance. He takes the blade from the ninja's hand and carves him up finer than the finest steak. Stefan holds Sarah's body in his hands and yells to the heavens. His misery is so strong. Just when he thought that he could love again, taken away so harshly.
Mr. Prince?
Just give me a minute, you wretched mediocrity.
You want the towel again?
The words are all just blurring into one. Just give me a second. We'll go for the twist ending, okay? And record the rest tomorrow.
Which page?
Just the last couple.
From where he gets into the compound?
Yeah, that sounds good. Everybody loves the twists. Stefan races down the long corridor. He's pure white like snow and he's hundreds of feet above the ground. He is in hot pursuit of Mr. Internet. From the back, all he can see is his white suit moving, a large, distracting top hat. God damn it. I have you bent to rights, so stop right there. You'll never get me alive. Stefan stops and cocks his gun. Just what I wanted to hear. Stefan aims the gun at Mr. Internet and then takes a shot. Some powerful force deep inside him stops him from the headshot he could easily make, and he fires one in the left leg. It resounds against Mr. Internet, and he falls to the floor. Stefan strolls across and sees him rolling around on the floor, meek as a child with red staining the white of his pants leg. Stefan bends over and throws a top hat into the hole. Oh my God, it's you. And it was you, Tracy, to be more specific. Stefan stands and wobbles. He's so shocked that he can barely stand. Tracy takes this as her chance and hooks Stefan's leg, causing him to topple over the edge of the corridor. Luckily, he gets his hands on the ledge and holds on for dear life.
That is correct, Stefan. It is I, your beloved Tracy.
But I thought you were dead.
All a cleverly orchestrated plan. Even the deranged fan was in on it. He was only firing blanks, and I had a vest full of blood pellets rigged to explode as soon as I jumped in the way.
I should have seen this coming. This certainly did not show the kind of foresight that our most prescient writer possesses. He was called into the White House when Donald Trump was elected president to foil any future assassination attempts, for Christ's sake.
It's okay. You were blinded by love.
Tracy kicked Stefan's left hand, causing a couple of his fingers to become loose. But why you do it all, Tracy?
I am actually a double agent for the Saucer people of Romulus 6.
But I made up the Saucer people of Romulus 6.
And that's what you thought, but they're very much alive. If I took you out, I'd be given a handsome payoff, so I thought of a foolproof scheme. I knew that I could never kill you by simple methods when you were lying asleep next to me all those nights. You would have easily awoken to a knife attack or a gun ambush. Plus, I got to admit, you always left me a little tired, so we came up with the internet. Being a writer, we knew you'd have to use it eventually, and then we could steal your consciousness. Hell, I'm surprised that you managed to hold out until 2020 to do research with it, but then what we didn't take into account was the mind that we were dealing with.
Tracy kicks Stefan's left hand again, and it lets go of the ledge and hangs by his side. Are you trying to say that you don't feel anything for me, babe? Tracy walks over to his right hand and stares at Stefan's face. Pure smooth chin, piercing manly blue eyes, still prominent hairline. She leans over and picks him up, dropping him on the corridor next to her.
Will you still take me back, Stefan?
You just couldn't do it, could you, Tracy?
I would never deprive the world of your novels, and myself of your body.
Tracy puts her hands all over Stefan, letting her untrue hands caress his body. Okay, I'll take you back, Tracy. Stefan takes out his gun and shoots Tracy in the chest. She grabs hold of him, and he fires twice more. Back to hell.
Why'd you do it, Stefan?
I just can't trust you again, Toots.
But I love you.
Well, maybe I love you too, Tracy. But maybe love ain't enough in this crazy world anymore.
We'll always have the writer's retreat in Orlando, where we wrote scandalous prose over each other's bodies all night long.
We'll always have Orlando. Stefan pushed Tracy off of him and sat there thinking. She was 19, no more than a child, really, and like all children, too, technologically reliant. In Orlando, her prose had been childlike and silly. Yet another reason to push her into the void. She tried to call a penis a blunt tool. It was so poor. Maybe Stefan had the reason. Maybe it was this damn internet that was doing it to the kids, forcing them to dumb themselves down and ruin their vocabularies. Stefan knew the answer. He would continue to write, and maybe even write more novels a year. Faster writing with better writing quality, because when you're the only thing stopping the world descending into gibberish talking fools, you've got a mission from God to help people. The American people. And the end.
I just have a quick question, Stefan.
Yes, Belinda?
Well, I've wanted to ask this since the hardback came out, and, well, I don't want to critique the work, but I've noticed a few inconsistencies, is all.
Spit it out.
Well, why didn't the mecha dinosaur just eat Stefan when he was asleep in the cave?
Well, Stefan was under a pile of leaves, that's why, Belinda.
But that's not in the book.
It's implied.
And in the flashback to where Stefan actually had the power of foresight, why didn't he just use his powers to avoid going into the trap set by the Duke? You know, like he did in Pollyanna's dystopic dynasty?
That's not how the power works, Belinda. Any more criticisms?
Well...
Look, you wouldn't get it.
What wouldn't I get?
Look, I wanted to write something. Something about being a man. I did, at least when I was starting out. You think I wanted something that would appeal to you? The likes of you?
What do you mean by you?
Defining our terms, are we now? I just wanted to write something for the real man, not some art student who's not lived out there, who's not...
I don't think I want to be condescended.
Come on, we're friends here, aren't we? You know I'm only joking.
Working people aren't some rarefied species, you know. Why does it matter who likes you or not?
I can see I've upset you. Maybe it's a case of just critics and these student types just don't have the right temperament to enjoy the books correctly.
It doesn't take temperament to know you've started cannibalizing your own work.
What the fuck did you just say to me?
The ending to this novel is the exact same as My Better Angel of Hell. I mean, even some of the sentences are the exact same.
It's a gift to long-term fans.
It's a cop-out, is what it is.
What would you have me do, Belinda? I can't come up with the ideas anymore. You think that it's easy coming up with a new monster a few times a year? I mean, the lead protagonist of this book is a horror writer named Stefan Prince, careers of ups and downs. Where do you think I am?
Then why not just slow down your workload?
And replace the work with what? You know, I don't think I'll need your services anymore, Belinda.
That how it's gonna be?
Yes. But I will still write you a good reference as far as it goes. You've done a fine job. Well, actually, you can do me one last thing, though, before you go.
What?
Second thoughts, I think that'll finish off the bottle. Anyway...
And there concludes the tragic last recording of the genius Stefan Prince. Although fans of the novel will have noticed the absence of several of the novel's greatest episodes, the escape from Catfish Bay, the death of Stefan's Puerto Rican sidekick at the hands of the Russians, and many other episodes, I hope that it provides a key to understanding the mind of the great author in his autumnal years. It also shows us possibly the pain he was spared. In the months after his death, his two serious novels mentioned in the audiobook were finally reissued by his publisher to cash in on his death. The city glows anew in the evening, crimson, and life, death, and the points betwixt were met with little fanfare from his fans, scorn from critics, and hugely disappointing sales, so much so it seemed their fate may rest solely as pulp or obscure collector's items. Ironically, one of the few positive notes came from his old nemesis, the New York Times, which wrote, and I quote verbatim, "Although this paper has had a long history of conflict with this particular writer, we would trash his work, and he would reply with scathing caricatures of our reviewers. In death, this conflict has finally ended." In these two concise, deep, and powerful novels, Stefan Prince has articulated an American experience that has become the norm for too many. Stagnated wages, alcoholism, and faded dreams. If Prince had lived and wrote more in this style, it may have been possible he could have ascended to that most hallowed of descriptions. A truly great writer. But a great writer Stefan would never be seen as. His death itself was overshadowed by the 4-year anniversary of the artist Prince. So unknown had he become in later life. There will be no mansion tours of the home of Stefan Prince, no buildings named after him or streets down America named in his glory. The only positive to come out of his passing is that he was finally vindicated in his constant insistence that he was not drag queen Princess Stephanie. Although several of the greatest authors of all time have died with barely a notice, only to have their reputation resurrected later in time, which I am sure it will with Prince, it seems particularly egregious treatment in the case of this splendid author. If you have enjoyed this, I would seek out YouTube, where his ex-wife has uploaded hundreds of hours of his tapes. Apparently he was terrified of a conspiracy by the, in his words, Jewish-run media to kill him, so recorded himself almost constantly. I feel that this excerpt from a recording made days before his death will provide the most fitting end to the story and to the man.
Read some more of your work to me, Belinda. Come on.
Please stop, Mr. Prince. You're going to make me embarrassed.
Please, it's very good. And don't call me Mr. Prince. You know my father was Mr. Prince.
Someone's gotten into the wine.
Just a little bit, my dear. Celebrate the college finally sending someone I think I can work with. Should have seen some of the others they sent. Tedious mediocrities all.
Oh, stop it, Stefan.
Come have a drink with me then.
I told you I don't drink.
More for me then. I'm going to start recording all the audiobooks here, Belinda. Probably releasing them myself too. No more publishers sullying my work. They don't even do publicity anymore. What if I wore a fucking dress or come from Palestine or, well, now I'm becoming a bore. Fucking politics again. But I'm getting tedious now. A middle-aged man talking about his second act. That's what I wanted to call my memoir, the second act. But the publisher, well, they wanted some kind of pun, didn't they? No such thing as a second act anyway. Especially not for me. Not now. When I got clean 10 years ago, I still had something. A wife. The idea that I could be a serious novelist. I genuinely believed, that if my real work had been released properly, it would have been all different. It could have been the next John Steinbeck or Mark Twain. Now, do you know what I am, Belinda?
Beloved author Stefan Prince?
I'm the biggest P in the sci-fi section. Let that be my epitaph. What's it like to have it all in front of you, Belinda?
What do you mean, sir?
It's good what you wrote.
Oh, it's okay.
Don't put yourself down like that. Better than the rubbish I write nowadays.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
Leave my work out of it. God knows I wish I could. But don't you see a bright future in front of you? You must if you took this internship.
Well, I hope to be a success, yes. Nothing like you, obviously. I couldn't ever imagine that.
You don't want to. Trust me, no one would want what I have. It's like the sea, Belinda. A young person like you looks out at the sea and they see potential. Sees all the vistas beyond their line of sight. The world beyond their comprehension. You know what I see? Drowning.
I think that you've had enough. You're getting melancholy now.
Look what you've done.
Do you want me to help you pick it up?
No, Belinda, no. All I want from you is to make me a promise. I want this as my epitaph when they come and get me.
No one's coming for you, Mr. Prince.
Stefan. Come on, call me Stefan. And look, just promise me something.
Okay.
I want this to be my epitaph. He was a man who tried, but he could not. He wanted to be great and landed somewhere south of good. At least he sold a lot of books and made a few idiots happy. Now go get me another drink.